Arundhati Roy foi a primeira pessoa indiana a vencer o prestigiado Booker Prize. Defensora dos direitos humanos, a escritora tem-se dedicado a denunciar as desigualdades sociais impostas pelo regime de castas que continua em vigor na Índia até hoje. Mesmo sob ameaça de morte, recusa abandonar o país porque, segundo a própria, se sair da Índia, não poderá escrever sobre a Índia. Conversámos com ela para perceber como está o governo indiano a reagir à pandemia.
Foi com o livro O Deus das Pequenas Coisas que Arundhati Roy se tornou conhecida no mundo inteiro. Um livro que mereceu as melhores críticas e que venceu muitos prémios. Arundhati Roy está de volta às livrarias portuguesas, agora com um pequeno livro de ensaios intitulado Coração Rebelde. Well, thank you very much for accepting this interview. How is the situation in India with all this pandemic?
Well, the situation is very very frightening and very dangerous. Although the virus itself, it has not been as deadly apparently in India as it has in Europe and in North America. So we have about 90,000 cases and about 3,000 people have died. But a lot of the cases are asymptomatic and not that many people seem to need intensive care. But the real crisis has been because, the Indian Prime Minister announced perhaps the most punitive lockdown in the world and gave 1.38 billion people 4 hours notice.
Well,
so what
happened?
Yeah.
What happened, Arundhati?
So basically what happened was that as soon as the lockdown was announced, and it was announced at night, so people, initially there was a big panic in the cities to buy food and things, but the real panic started the next day when millions and millions of people who are daily wage workers in factories, at construction sites, in small garment units, these people who basically live in villages and come to work in the city found themselves stranded. There was no money, there was no food, there was no water, there was no transport. Mm-hmm. And so from the 25th of March, India has seen this exodus of the extremely poor working class people just walking hundreds and hundreds of kilometers home while the police beat them. They then, started to walk on railway tracks. Many were killed by trains. Now they are being beaten on the railway tracks. So they are, jamming into these illegal trucks. So, the lockdown, which is meant to create social distancing, actually in India is social compression for the poor and physical distancing for the rich,
So the differences... The differences are becoming bigger.
The differences are becoming tragic, actually, So what you're seeing is, I think in many societies, especially in the US, you've seen that. And in India, certainly, you see just in the way that COVID-19 enters the human body and kind of amplifies existing illnesses. It has entered our society and amplified our illness, our hatred of Muslim, Hindu, the communal riots and trouble the communal killing that was happening before this virus came. Now Muslims are being stigmatized, they are being called the carriers of disease, Corona jihad, human bombs, these are the words. And the poor are being treated like, biohazard. So it's a society with great existing illnesses which have been amplified.
So what India needs to make things better for their population. It's because you write about that in this book, My Serious Heart. It's a very divided country, let us say like this, divided in financial terms, but also in social terms. You still have the caste systems that it's very aggressive and very violent. So what India needs to be or to give a better life to their population?
Well, at this moment, I mean, the simple answer would be it needs a new government, because this particular government is an overtly fascist, Hindu nationalist formation, whose whole agenda is to declare India to be a Hindu nation and to make other religions and other ethnic communities into second-class citizens. So we are really living under a regime who's working towards, kind of dividing up the country in ways that are very, very frightening. And yet, because of the way elections work now, because of the way data works, because of the complete control that it has on all the institutions, on the media, on the courts, and so on, we are living in a situation where you're increasingly seeing all this pushed into a corner. And now COVID has come in and basically devastated the economy. So now we don't know really what's going to happen, because you have millions of people, like something like 120 million people have lost their jobs. And, there's a reverse migration into the villages. So I actually don't know what's going to happen next. We'll have to slowly see, as we come out of the lockdown.
Mm-hmm. You have received threats to your life, but you insist on living in India. Why?
No, it's not just me, the situation in India is such that everybody who's right now speaking up against the government, like as we speak, young students, most of them Muslim, are being arrested under kind of anti-terrorism laws, using this COVID crisis as a cover, being held in prison without bail, activists, lawyers, writers. So it's not just me, as a single individual. There's a kind of attack on all kinds of dissent: journalists, lawyers, activists, writers, professors, people in jail. So, it's a lot of people who are refusing to run, not just me.
Well, thank you very much for this interview. Arundhati Roy, autora de Coração Rebelde, em breve nas livrarias portuguesas.